Andrew Yang has been gaining a lot of momentum recently, especially with the recent Yang surge and the fact that he just had 4 qualifying polls happen within, I think, 10 to 12 hours. This is all very good news for his campaign, but my question today is it enough for him to win the election? My quick answer to this is probably not. I believe that something between now and probably Super Tuesday, something major needs to happen, something major needs to change. Let's discuss today. First, if you're new to my channel, this is Matt's Forward Politics. Thank you for joining me today. So why do I say that something needs to happen between now and Super Tuesday for him to win? I think most people following the Yang Gang believe that Andrew Yang is actually in a good position right now and that he's actually surging to take possibly Iowa, at least in the top 3. And that's great. If he does, this is good. This is very good. He needs at least 1 delegate in Iowa. Otherwise, the amount of energy he's putting into this campaign isn't worth it because his message isn't getting out there and it isn't being vocalized the way he needs to. So barring a catastrophe on the first day of voting, going into this, he really does need to win over some delegates. And if he doesn't, this is really bad news for his campaign. See, here's the thing. People are kind of skittish with all the candidates right now, including Andrew Yang. If you guys noticed, right after he didn't qualify for the December debates, he lost out on a lot of donations. His funding went down quite a bit. He missed both of his goals that he had set, and this was, I believe, the first time he missed any of his goals. And both of these situations happened right after he didn't qualify for the next debate. So people do tend to, and if you notice, if you go around on Twitter or in some of the YouTube comments on some videos, you might realize that some people didn't even realize he was still in the race. And they were a little surprised to say, oh, he's still in the race? It's because he wasn't at the debates. And then, gosh, that Donald Trump Snapchat was such a tease to all of us. It made everyone so happy that Trump mentioned Yang for once, but the media doesn't cover Trump's Snapchats, they cover his tweets. That's why I'm suggesting we really need to get out and do something so that Trump talks about Yang. Because I don't know if you guys realize this, whether you guys like Trump or not, anytime he tweets about something, that's all the media talks about for like 2 or 3 days. Anytime he tweets about something, it's spread throughout the whole world. It's like if anyone didn't know who Andrew Yang was, they'll know about him the second Trump tweets about him, because all they have to do is click on his page and be like, oh, who's this Yang guy that Trump just tweeted about? He's not doing that. So is it realistic that we can expect a boost from Donald Trump? Probably not. To be honest, Trump is a smart guy. He's already looked at all the candidates and all the contenders, and we all know he had kind of a Freudian slip, I suppose you could call it, at one of his rallies where he had mentioned that if a complete nobody entered the race, that was his biggest chance of losing. And obviously he had already looked into all the candidates, and he was directly referring to Andrew Yang when he said that. It was so obvious that even Andrew Yang himself kind of calls it out and mentions that talking point that Trump brought up several months ago. The big problem right now is the media. It's a big problem. I think this is the biggest problem that we're facing right now. I think that Yang is trying to do this approach where he gains his coverage through the media, and he's trying to buddy up with them right now, and I think it's a bad look. I don't think it's going to help him. The problem is that, okay, maybe certain groups of people are following the media and the mainstream news, and maybe this is the best way that he should have gotten his initial boost from his campaign, aside from Joe Rogan and other podcasts. But let's look at it. The media never talks about Yang. The media actively goes against him. At one debate, you had CNN ask him fair questions that were obviously pushed upon us by the Yang Gang. I mean, that was a really good job that everyone did, was pushing those questions to be asked by CNN. And of course, CNN, out of all the political outlets out there that are left-leaning, they're supposedly supposed to be the most neutral. So if they didn't go ahead and ask these more objective questions to Yang, this would have made more people question their authenticity than already were. Now I think we're at this point in the campaign where Andrew Yang needs to back off of the media already. He attempted it early on, and I think maybe the misstep was that he did it a little bit too early. One boost that he got out of not being in the debates, of course, that we all saw, was that everyone missed him at the debates. Even the people that didn't really recognize him or that were kind of ignoring him, recognized his lack of presence at this most recent debate in January. This definitely boosted his campaign. And one thing people don't realize is that, yes, these 4 qualifying polls just came out recently and showed him with this boost that we've been looking for. And everyone's excited right now. But let's not forget that this boost technically should have been shown before the January debates. They just delayed these polls as long as they could. And apparently this is as long as they could delay this polling. Eventually these polls have to come out. Eventually they have to show this data. And they showed it. And obviously Yang has the boost that we were hoping for or expecting. But let's not forget, in a lot of these states, he needs at least 15% of the vote. And in some states, he actually needs the majority to even win the delegates in that state. So he's still not very high up right now. He's still not as elevated as he needs to be. And right now, I see that he's dedicating all of his time in Iowa, and I think he's putting all his cards there. If he doesn't gain any delegates in Iowa, then he has to admit that his campaign is not taking off the way he was hoping it would. And this is a problem. And it's really, I mean, you could say it's his fault or it's not his fault. It doesn't really matter. The fact is that there are very powerful entities in the United States actively against these kind of concepts. These people like the way things are. They want to keep it the way it is. They don't want to make major changes. And this is going to the hearts of a lot of people in America in general. This is typically how a lot of people feel, especially if they're not too bad off by the current economy, which tends to be probably like 40 to 50% of America, which you take that 40% of America that's pretty well off, you know, that things have actually gone up, especially if you were present whenever the 2011 crash, 2012 crash all happened. This really had a big impact on a lot of people. And ever since then, people have been kind of wary about the economy, thinking it's going to crash at any moment. There are so many videos being released in 2014, 2015, just after the crash, where they were like, oh, the economy is about to tank. You better take all your money out of the bank now, or else you're going to lose it. And you better have a certain amount of cash. And, you know, it just became this really big hype thing that everyone was focused on, hyper focused on for such a long time. And now that Trump has taken over, he maybe it's him, maybe it's not, maybe it's the businesses, but either way, the economy is looking better now. And at this point, anyone that's offering a big change to this economy is going to be met with a certain amount of backlash, because believe it or not, most people, if things are okay and they're not dying of starvation and there's not major catastrophes happening, people tend to become complacent with where they're at. They don't realize that if you make these little changes, things can get better. And this is tough. This is a mindset that we need to break through over time. I hope that between now and like Super Tuesday, this is enough time for him to continuously get his message out. Endorsements like Dave Chappelle and other celebrities are nice and good. This does not mean that he's immediately going to gain a wave of supporters just from this celebrity or that celebrity endorsing him. But what this does mean is that when a celebrity endorses him, this increases his coverage. This gives people a chance to look into him further. Some people might say, oh, if Dave Chappelle is looking into Andrew Yang, at the very least, I'll look into him to see why he's supporting him. It doesn't automatically translate into voters. It just translates into being more well-known. And this is really where he's still at. And we need to pass this hump. He needs to be at a level where Bernie Sanders is. He needs to be at a level where all these other politicians are, where they have higher face recognition, where you can't switch out their picture on a graphic and not realize that they're doing it because you don't even know what the person looks like. Andrew Yang isn't at this point where people just recognize him by looking at him yet. He needs to get there. He needs to get there, and he's not yet. Of course, the biggest way for him to gain recognition would be for him to gain a delegate. There are a couple of other things that he could do, and in my opinion, at this point, based on everything that's going on, he really should call out the mainstream media every single chance he gets. Anytime he misses an opportunity to call out the mainstream media, he's missing an opportunity to gain a big swath of voters that dislike the mainstream media. They won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Of course, only time will tell. At this point, the biggest unfortunate factor that we have come across is that Donald Trump hasn't tweeted about Yang, and I'm going to be hammering this down because Trump mentioned Yang at the December debate. He brought him up. He brought him up. You know what? If he would have pushed that further, Trump would have been impulsively tweeting about Yang. Like, Trump's advisors would be saying, don't tweet about Yang. What are you doing? Don't tweet about him. That's crazy. If you tweet about him, more people are going to know about him. And Trump would be like, I don't care, fake news. He's calling fake news. He called CNN fake news. That's what Trump would do if Yang was starting to do that. And of course, to some people, this might turn you off to Yang, but that would only turn off the people that are going to be voting for Biden anyway. Let's be real. Or Elizabeth Warren. The people that are looking at, just realize this, the people that are looking at Andrew Yang are the people that are looking for something that the media is not pushing. They're trying to look for something that can beat Donald Trump, more particularly that can beat the corruption and the media that have been lying to us for years. And to this point, Donald Trump is the only one that still calls it out directly without any hesitation, without any worry about what parties are going to say about them or what, if he's going to be attacked by this side or that side. And of course, part of that's his fame, sure. But in reality, this just looks like a more solid position to be in to a lot of people. He really needs to take the power out of Trump's hands. He just needs to grab it and snatch it and take it away from him. And sure, he can do this in a humanity way. He just needs to do it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I've actually decided I'm probably going to change my schedule up a little bit, and I'm going to be posting close to every day, but I'm not going to be editing my videos as much as I've been. In the future, I will come out with more videos like this, and I've mentioned that I have a skit that I'm actually working on for Andrew Yang. It's going to be for entertainment purposes, so I hope you guys enjoy it when I release it. Otherwise, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe if you guys are enjoying this content. And most importantly, give me a comment down below. If you guys disagree with anything, I really want to hear it. Or if you agree with what I'm saying, please let me know. The more feedback we have, the better we can boost Yang's campaign in the end. So stay tuned, guys. And like always, don't forget, humanity first.